Come one, come all to the DudeFax podcast. It feels good to be back.
It does.
How are you guys doing?
Outstanding. All four of us, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the whole
Excited.
gang back together.
It's like a mini miracle.
Yeah. And Whitey Bulger.
Already disappointed Jesus.
Making his guest appearance back there. No, it feels good to be back in the recording studio with you guys again. So for our listeners out there, or viewers, for those of us who watch us,
David.
we have been on a little bit of a hiatus, and we are coming back strong.
Better than ever.
Yeah. By strong, I mean very masculine and manly. We are four men.
Working out in some way?
Yeah.
You will grow chest hair just listening to these next four episodes.
Yeah. I'm gonna
already
cut
working.
my chest hair so I can grow some more while we're recording.
It's going to sprout.
But speaking of which, so that we're changing up the format a little bit. So if you didn't listen to our mini episode, our episode 0, I think is what we called it. We are doing we're doing one topic, and we're going to talk about it for the next 4 episodes. So over the next month, you will get to get in deep with us on whatever given topic we're going to be talking about. This month in particular, we're going to be discussing toxic masculinity. Ooh. And I think we've discussed this before, but we want to address it again and also dive in maybe a little deeper in some areas because it's an important topic for our culture and what's going on right now. So I think that we'll have some good conversation going forward.
Yeah, I think we've all met since the last time.
Yeah,
we talked about it. We've all more manly.
There's a lot of manly things going on. You know, there's never a shortage of manliness that you can kind of catch up on.
Well, I'm gonna say Grant's growing out some manly curls.
That's true.
Can you say manly curls? Is that? Unless it's like these kind. More curls, more girls, right?
Wait, is that the curls? Are you doing a mullet as well? Or,
no, I'm just wearing a hat.
Oh man, you should really rock the mullet. Let's come back. Actually, in Nashville, you'd fit right in. Every guy I feel like has a mullet in Nashville these days.
Although they're not real mullets, they're like the Euro mullets that we all had in college in like 2010.
Yeah. I don't know. It depends. I saw one dude the other day because I work downtown in Nashville next to Broadway, and dude straight up Billy Ray Cyrus style mullet. Oh, he was rocking it. All he was missing was some white Reeboks. He would have been set. Which
so Ethan has the mullet and is dyed blonde now.
Oh yeah.
And word on the streets is that he got his ears pierced today.
Okay.
What?
Yep. Is he in the fire academy or is he a firefighter right now?
Yes, he's a firefighter.
See, if he came in to rescue me, I'd say, man, just leave me here. Yeah. I'll wait for the next one. He needs to listen to this podcast about masculinity.
You know,
you're like, I'll wait for the real man to rescue me. Okay. Thanks.
The ear piercing, I haven't even talked to him. I haven't seen it happen.
Both ears?
I'm curious what kind of ear piercing it is.
Yeah.
Like a hoop, or is it like a little stud?
I think he has a little stud, and he's going to get black stud.
Would you feel better as the father-in-law if he got his ears pierced or like his nipples?
Well, I wouldn't have to see the nipples.
Well, you might.
No more tight shirts for you, Ethan.
What's great is now that he has his ears pierced, he now has something in common with Lance Bass.
Ooh.
So,
I'm sure that
I don't want to say it. Oh, man. If you're not viewing this, you're missing some subtle jokes.
And we're going to have something that for you to really get, you're going to need to watch at the end of this episode anyway. So if you're just listen on Spotify, you can watch it as well.
Yeah, you can watch it now on Spotify. That's cool.
But, watch it while you're driving around, David.
Can we add visuals on Spotify? I noticed I was listening to an audiobook on Spotify the other day, and as it's like a nonfiction book, and as I'm listening to it, like it was showing pictures of what they were talking about instead of the things in the book.
What were they showing pictures of, right?
Well, this is particularly about Charles Manson, so.
Wow.
There's no telling.
So what did they show pictures of?
But anyways,
starting the question.
Big time.
So toxic masculinity. I think for our first episode of this topic, since we're getting back into it, like I said, we talked about it before. I think it would be good for us to talk about what is toxic masculinity, and we can maybe by the end of this episode come to a rough working definition of the phrase. I think there's a difference between maybe what it means culturally and what it means biblically. And I'm sure we'll discuss that as we go forward. But so let's start there. Toxic masculinity. What do you guys think of when you think of toxic masculinity?
Backing up your jacked up pickup truck into a parking space with a Monster Energy drink sticker on it. Rocking a mullet.
No, is the mullet part of the toxicness? That's the question.
Maybe. No, I think it's just any, like, if we're talking culturally, it's any norm that we've accepted for what is manly. And that could be different, obviously, with every culture, but specifically ours. The things that we've accepted as norms for men to do, when taken to maybe an extreme or exaggerated or misapplied or used in a way that is harmful to people and not used in a way to love and serve people, as we know biblically is part of our role as a man.
Ditto. What he said.
No, I think that culturally, and biblically too. I think what it is that we have a culture that has really propped men up, and sometimes in ways that really people take and run with, and not in a good way sometimes. I think when men take what a man should be, which is a leader and someone who is caring and looks out for the people that are around them, I think when you take that and pervert it and make it more about control and about I'm in charge, I think that's when things become toxic, and that's when things become harmful to the people around you.
And also, I believe that's true. I believe that we're also in a culture now that things that weren't toxic are now considered toxic when it comes from men, or when it comes to men and masculinity. Simple things like assuming a lady might need help getting through a door, that's a simple example, but things like that aren't as well received as they used to be. And there's some thought out there that even doing things that maybe once were considered polite or helpful may not be received that way from a person anymore. So you're kind of like hesitant, like, should I say ma'am, just to have, say something polite to a lady? And I'm not getting into like gender things here, just yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am, things like that are opening the door. I think there's a lot of uncertainty as far as what guys are allowed to do. And, we hear about mansplaining a lot as well, which for you ladies out there, that's when a man has to come along and explain to you the situation because you may not fully get it.
Yep. As a definition and an example. I love it.
Well, I didn't do it
in one package.
I just feel like it was necessary.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they
I
may
felt
not
like
know,
I needed
right?
that.
Yeah.
So thanks for mansplaining.
Sometimes as a man, I need someone to mansplain something to me. So,
Right. So don't take it personally, ladies.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think part of that too is that there's a lot of things that are just like, a lot of those things are just like general like kindness that we should do as humans for one another. And I think the fact that a lot of that is determined as masculine or not masculine is part of the problem. Because like holding the door open for somebody or like helping somebody when they look like they need help, like that should just be normal, general like ways that we treat each other as humans.
Yeah, I think that word toxic gets thrown around a lot too. When you talk about toxic leadership, toxic masculinity, that's kind of a buzzword that people use anytime they don't really like something for the most part. Granted, I think it does, it is fitting at times, but specifically with masculinity, I think that we're in a culture now that has many different definitions for what that looks like. And Josh is right. In some regards, we've started to define things as toxic masculinity that have never been seen that way. But I also feel like sometimes it's those loudest voices that we all hear and we take as this is now the new accepted norm when it's really not, because you talk to most people, and I think most ladies that I would talk to, if you're going to open a door for them, would probably appreciate it. But there's just those few that, might see that as, you abusing your manhood or whatever you want to call that. But when it comes to our manhood, I think any time that we use our masculinity, Grant needs that, because we're going to be using that word a lot, manhood. When we're talking about being a man and expressing that and losing your train of thought, because I'm distracted now. But when you're, all right, I'm lost now. No, I think what I meant to say is that when we're being men and we're doing it in a way that is serving others, which I know we're going to talk about as we get into scripture, versus using it in a way that is self-serving, that is abusive, that is domineering, that is seeking control of others. I think there's a clear line, and I think all those things that I just mentioned, that's toxic, or however you want to define it. But always looking for ways to use your God-given gender of being a man to love and serve others, even if our culture has a perverted view of genuine love and servanthood. I think we're in the right as it relates to serving Jesus, and that's really the goal, right? Sorry, it took a long time to get that out because Grant and his Jesus.
I didn't say anything.
Yeah, I know.
A lot of the conversation automatically goes to things guys do that are toxic, but even from a biblical perspective, I think there's things that guys don't do that really could be defined as toxic as well. Like just not being courageous. We're going to actually, in a few weeks, we'll talk about that a little bit, but not being, cowering in difficult circumstances where they really need to stand up. And that goes back to the very beginning of Scripture with Adam and Eve, that Adam was supposed to guide Eve to know what truth was and what it looked like to obey the Lord, and he didn't. And so I think that's on both sides. Like there is a middle ground between, we can go too far to the extreme in one way with authority that's been given to us as men, and we can go too far the other way and neglect that. Like we can abuse it on both ends. And I that's kind of a hope I get, through this month, that we're able to come to kind of a good understanding of where is that middle ground, where's that balance, where's the godly balance in those things.
Well, we're hitting on culture, which is, I think, is incredibly important. And you talk about holding a door open for a woman, or one thing we haven't mentioned is walking on the street side. If you're holding a lady's hand, you stand on the street side of the sidewalk. But those are so culturally bound. If you were to ask anybody why they walk on the street side or why we hold doors open for them, you might not. It's just tradition. That's what the idea of man does. And I know there are people out here that would not be considered manly out here in the Northwest by people in the South. Like one of the common stereotypes is like we have Toyota Tacomas out here like crazy. They're named after Tacoma, Washington. It's the truck of the Northwest, but that's known as a girl truck. Like in the South, that's a girl's truck. So just different cultural ideas of what's manly and what's not. I mean, they're so culturally bound. And I think one of the challenges that we have in America is we are told what men do, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy that you can do everything that you're expected to do as a male, but not be the man that God has called you to be in your family. I mean, you could be wearing the cowboy boots, rocking a modern mullet, driving a pickup truck, dipping tobacco, and listening to modern country, and be ignoring and cold toward your wife and not paternally nurturing your children the way that God has called you to raise your kids according to his word, but fit all the cultural stereotypes of man. So I think I think that's a huge step forward if people just acknowledge that my culture, be it Southern culture, Northwestern culture, my particular culture that I'm in, and their understanding of what a man is could be wrong.
Yeah, because in some cultures you see men greet each other with a kiss.
Or hold hands walking down the street in a very heterosexual way.
Yeah.
Well, there's a disconnect there, right? Like it's culture, oftentimes we think that it's defined what a man is, but culture is depending on where you live, depending on who you're around. But what's not changing is Christ and who he calls us to be. And that's really what the definition of being especially a godly man is. And that's how we should define ourselves, and not necessarily by how macho we are or by how, culturally manly we dress or whatever the thing may be.
Yeah, tell a dude from Samoa, because in Samoan culture it's very matriarchal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the dudes in Samoa, they're the ones eating last after they prepared the food and are going to wash the dishes. And they might wear something that looks like what a white person might call a sarong. Yeah, you go walk up to that 400-pound dude and tell him he's not masculine.
You're wrong.
So wrong?
So
That is so wrong.
What's wrong with you?
But I real quick too, I also want to talk about maybe some biblical examples. We see, Josh, you mentioned, Adam and Eve, like his, him not being courageous enough to stand up and say something, and that being an example of somebody, of him not owning up to being a man, being the man that God has called him to be. I think another biblical example is that one of the most egregious in my mind is King David, one of the most beloved kings of Israel, and his, not only seeing Bathsheba bathing on a roof and lusting after her and acting upon that lust, but then also killing a man to cover it up. Like it was like snowball effect, and it was like one of the most egregious examples I can think of somebody using their authority and their power and where they're at as a man of God to, a man of God's people to have his own control in the situation, and fulfill his own desires. And it ended poorly for him, as we saw.
Did you know before David, she was just known as Sheba?
And she'd never taken a bath before. That was actually the first time.
Yeah, she was Shower Sheba before that.
Yep.
Dry shampoo Sheba.
But any other ideas you guys come to mind when we talk about biblically, somebody, that's fails as a man, and that it becomes toxic in the way they act?
Noah had a little bit of an issue.
I know a guy.
Yeah. Not, and I hadn't brushed up on this or anything, so y'all can clean up the mess. But after they get off the ark and things dry out,
Plants a
they
vineyard.
set up an altar and a place of worship, and then Noah has a little too much Heineken and passes out naked.
Yeah.
And his daughters see him first. I think that's right. And but just not being in control. Allowing himself to be controlled by something else. That was substance abuse, basically, and you see what that led to. Think of Abraham and Hagar. That when God tells Abraham, "Hey, you're going to have a kid, you and Sarah," and they're like, "No, we're too old," and Sarah's like, "Well, why don't you just take my servant over there?" And now there's a whole other race of people that are bent on killing God's people. So definitely a lot of examples, I think, in Scripture. And a lot of it comes back to not trusting God and his plan and his path for men and how they're supposed to operate.
Yeah, it always comes back to being self-serving, so worshiping self over God. And I like Joseph and his brothers. You could use or say that they're an example of toxic masculinity just in the fact that their jealousy drove them to do what they did to Joseph, very self-serving. And then you see Joseph's example as a man in captivity and how God really brought him down to the lowest of lows to the highest of highs, and then ultimately being somebody that was raised into a massive leadership position over his brothers. But the entire time, seemingly, like David, a man after God's own heart, doing everything that he could to be a servant. And I think particular with Potiphar's wife, great example, especially with our culture, we might look at that culturally and say, well, he's not a man. She threw herself at him and he wouldn't even get with her. And he actually did the more manly thing by fleeing and getting out of there and saying, this is not going to serve my God, honor my God. And, I need to make the better choice here. And what a great example of good manhood, being a man after God's own heart.
That boy couldn't keep a coat.
No.
All right. So to kind of close us out here, I want to talk about, so when we think about toxic masculinity, what is one of the things that I think comes to everybody's mind? And that is gym bros.
Jim Bro.
You said that earlier, and I thought you said Jim Rose. Like, who's Jim Rose?
Yeah, that dude is a jerk.
Who's Jim Rose? I don't know
I'm
that
out
guy.
of it.
Jim Rome. Yeah, that dude is toxic masculinity.
Rome.
Yeah.
But so I've got a
Chris.
video here that I want us to we can watch together and experience the manliness and the masculinity of going to the gym.
Does it ooze testosterone?
Oh, it's oozing something. Let me tell you what. All right. Let me
I love when you Southerners say "pump and iron."
Pumping
Pumping
iron.
iron.
It's ARN, pumping iron.
Pump and iron.
Pumping iron.
Iron.
Call the sheriff. Take a shower.
Over yonder.
All right. You guys see that?
Yeah.
Is this Ethan?
385.
So listen,
No, Ethan's ears are pierced now.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
I can't see this guy's nipples.
and his hair's blonde.
All right. So no audio here, but we'll if you are not
Firefighter.
watching or not watching online, and you're listening on Spotify, I encourage you to put on the video for this portion, and you can
Yes.
enjoy in this manliness with us.
Something's gonna break.
Oh,
The worst.
Oh.
I don't want to see his knees.
Oh my gosh.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Terrapec.
I had this
Why is he-
happen
Is he
on a
working
bike.
out with a mask on?
Oh,
What?
That's not
didn't have
bad.
the.
Seat just went.
Woo! Man,
I was
that
like,
guy
I wanna
just
know
read
what
the
he's
story
working
of
out.
Joseph and Potiphar's wife right there.
Oh, yep. Work out
Yep.
that
Yeah,
those
he's
neck
strengthening
muscles,
that-
maybe.
that
I
neck,
don't know.
yeah. That guy just got his butt in the way.
It looks like.
Who's this guy watching him? Let me come over and help you.
I mean, what
It
muscle
looks like he's stretching.
that?
That dude's stretching on his rack.
Oh, yeah.
Aw, that dude's like a WW2 vet.
Is he trying to work out or is he just struggling?
Wee! Wee!
I have the
That's
The
just fun.
weightlifting like lifts you more than you do it. Oh, see, that's getting more.
I
than
dig
one
it.
down at a
That is
time. That's actually-
multitasking.
I dig
Well, of course,
it.
that looks like a woman. So
Oh, yeah.
is that
oh,
that
okay.
same guy?
He's back for round 2.
Loves working out the pelvis.
3, 4.
Random guy tries to rep my PR and fails.
Deadlifts.
This dude just rolls up and is like, "Yeah, let me take a shot at that."
Look, he's yawning too. He's like,
Yeah,
do this.
I could tell by how long his shorts are that he's got issues.
What the fries?
Rounded back.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Yep. No.
What does
Oh,
mod mean?
that's bad. That
He's not shrugging.
is he trying to do shoulder shrugs?
He's gesturing.
I don't know.
Looks
Is
like
that
he's-
Tyler?
Like a peacock.
Hey, Tyler's doing CrossFit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's
Wee!
That's what I imagine Joey Wright would be doing.
No, that would be Joey Wrong.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Talking about
man.
multitasking.
Nope. Don't want to see it.
No, this is not
Actually, that
gonna
doesn't
end
look too
well.
heavy.
yeah, this guy's back is going to break.
Oh, my goodness.
Paw squatting.
That's a
Wait,
lot
what?
of weight.
Yeah, lock your
Oh.
weights in, people.
Yeah.
Well, benching maybe not, but that yes.
Oh.
This is
Oh,
fun.
let's do one more good one.
That was like fun.
Oh, we look.
He's spinning.
gonna drop it.
Okay.
Oh.
Is
thought
he
he was
training
gonna
for
drop
like
it
color
on
guard? Like what's he doing?
Dude's face.
He wants to be a majorette. Oh, there he
Yeah.
goes.
yeah.
He's got some speed.
That's some good wrist action.
That's clearly Planet Fitness.
Oh, okay. This one will win.
Is he
He's
practicing?
practicing for Black Friday though.
Yeah, he's looting and he's.
Oh yeah.
There's
Oh man,
working out.
that's David and Bathsheba.
Okay. It's a great one to stop on.
Although, let's not gatekeep. If you're going to the gym, good on you. That's
Yeah.
good for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
No,
Even
I,
if
only
I'm
I'm not one to judge somebody at the gym. I'm definitely, sometimes I get in there, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Because the only person worse than the person who asks how much you bench is the person who answers.
How much you bench?
How much you bench?
Though, just I know is exactly what I look like at the gym.
Oh yeah. That's the worst part about watching fail videos of like compilations like that. You're like, I could easily be on one of these.
I think everybody's had a moment at the gym where they've done something stupid or embarrassed
I
themselves.
do that.
Hey,
Or tried to lift too much and failed.
is it appropriate for grown men to take a selfie at the gym? Like to take a picture of the mirror that they're flexing into?
Are you trying to say something about Ethan?
No, I have somebody
Depends
else.
who you send it to. Your father-in-law?
And Ethan has he's got this, what's the word? I mean, he's been working out and tracking his progress, and he's been very, oh yeah. Okay. But just the random, I see guys doing that all the time, and I'm like, you can take a picture at home.
I think if it's for accountability or motivation with a group that's also doing the same, sure. But if it's literally a flex on a flex, yeah, that's.
But my thing is, I just want people to look at me. So, all right. Anyways, so that is gonna wrap up our episode 1 on toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
I highly encourage anyone listening or watching, please join us next week for part 2 as we continue our discussion. Tons of more good conversation and fun times to be had. We look forward to seeing you guys.
So before we get off, Ryan,
right.
talk about your background picture at all.
Yeah.
Looks like Whitey Bulger blowing up a moose.
That's manly right there. That's what I think.
Oh yeah.
Like masculinity.
All right.
All right.
You got-
Good.
Peace.